All right, good evening, everybody. It is June, no, June. I wish it was June. Sorry. I want, I want to go, no, I want to get to summer. It is November 12th, 2025. It is 4:05 PM and it will start bargaining between LCS and LCEA. I believe I have just passed the agenda. I am not going to go in that particular order. I'm gonna skip through the whole agenda in an effort to get through all the different topics that I need to discuss. Jess wanted me to update you on the minutes. She's working really hard and trying to get them up to date, but she's been pulling extra duty in our HR department, so just please be patient. We'll get them to you. Okay? We are going to go. Jess, start with Article 12, please. Now, this article, we had already gone through it already. I'm just gonna clarify a few things and a big change in it, okay? And the first one is on page 3. There was a question regarding if that was the correct school board policy 3420. It is. It's the one policy that discusses terminal pay. Okay? And I'm gonna scroll down to the okay, page 6. And there was discussion on the sentence that was the board will pay an amount equal to 95% of the zero premium base plan for instructional employees only coverage. This base amount will be paid regardless of which health insurance plan the instructional employee selects. And in discussing with, I spoke to Mr. Ward and we were looking at the language. The language is written okay because what it's intended is only implies the district will pay 95% of the employee's health plan and not 95% of family or dependents. Okay, so the base plan is the base plan that will be decided at joint insurance committee when we vote on a health insurance change or plan. That's the committee that will decide on the base plan, and then that will be the zero premium base plan for the district. That's the intent of the language. Okay, so I was just wanting to clarify that language there. I was not intending to change any language there other than what was proposed. And I already had mentioned instead of 30, 10 calendar days. Everything, we are not accepting having the PBMs in the contract because that will be discussed during joint insurance committee meeting on page 7. The joint insurance advisory committee, we're not accepting the +2 alternates, but you can have 2 alternates just in case one of the 5 can make it to the meeting. We don't have an issue with that. It's just there's no reason to put 2 more alternates in the committee. So you can have 5, and then if a couple of them are absent, you can have the alternates present so that they can be in the meeting.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that if we have 5 people listed and only three people can come, we can pick any other 2 people to take their place.
That's the way that I understand it, yes. Then you had added to put development, and we accept that. The only thing is we want to keep the word review also. Because development and review, once you develop any type of, we want to make sure that we're also able to review them. And we accept if meetings are conducted during contract hours and we'll receive release time, but we don't accept the travel and class coverage if applicable. Then on the next page, RFPs are discussing committee, and they're also public documents on board meetings, so we don't accept that. We already,
the, then what, go back to the other part on page 7 where you, took it out. Why can't that be in there that it's saying that it's being discussed during the
Because
meetings?
law, we don't need to have an RFP for health insurance. It's if we decide to have an RFP. We don't want to have that in contract. So you would always have an opportunity to discuss and see the RFPs and have a say-so in it in the Joint Insurance Committee meeting, and they'll be public knowledge because they'll be posted for board approval. So it's not something we want in the contract. It does not need to be in the contract. And the ensuring ethical and strategic selection, and we're bound by law. And I only crossed it out. If you want me to go ahead and put the statute in that section, I will, but it's not needed. We're bound by law to follow ethical and strategic guidelines. There is a statute for that, which I can bring back, and I thought I had wrote a note here, but Mr. Oyer is not here for me to ask him again on that one, but I'm gonna check my old notes if you need me to. District does not accept number 4. The proposed language introduces a rigid timeline of 60 calendar days for board approval and 30 days for an RFP. That may not align with operational realities of what happens, or maybe an urgency that something needs to change. So this extended notice period will inadvertently delay necessary actions and hinder any type of responsiveness to market conditions. So that's why we denied number 4. Number 5, advanced access to third-party vendor proposals and contract amendments often involve basically time-sensitive negotiations. Legal review, imposing a 14-day advanced access requirement could delay necessary actions also. So, and we don't accept that language because of that. All contracts are always placed in board docs for public input and approval anyway. So if something happens, it can be pulled from board docs. And the district remains committed at sharing all this information through the committee that will continue to provide access to vendor documentation as early as practicable. Similar that we had the meetings with the vendor that we're trying to sign for the new locations, same thing. Committee's always involved in getting all that information. Then the last piece, section, section I, we accept G the way it is. Did we discuss, and I had a note here, but I wanted to discuss regarding that statute for 40.02, authorized activity at the school campus and workman's comp. I thought I talked about this, but I want to make sure, do I need to go over that again? That's fine, okay.
Okay, for number 5, the request to receive, third-party or other, related vendor contracts prior to the meeting. Is the objection or the concern for the 14-day requirement? Or, to me, we want people to necessarily have an opportunity to preview so they can be prepared to discuss, right?
Correct. And that is something through committee. When we discuss all that information, we can provide all that information during that committee meetings. We can. No, if it hasn't, if they're not ready, because sometimes it's been discussion before we start writing contracts. So if that is something that you want to review, we can provide that through committee. That's not it.
Or prepared to engage in the conversation, right? But they're not trying to learn and figure out what they're talking about while the discussion is happening, but they can come prepared with questions.
But if we're making, I want to be clear, if we're making a change and we need a contract to go through faster than normal, like what happened with prescription, I understand that there was a lot of pains and headaches with it, but nobody lost benefits. Sometimes things need to change in order for us not to lose more money in the process.
I think what they're asking is to position the people who are tasked with discussing in the committee, position them to be prepared to participate in that discussion by providing even if it's at the time the agenda is provided or the calendar reminder is provided, these are the things we're gonna be discussing, right?
Okay, so then I will put in a question and discuss with risk management again, that section.
It might speed up the process for you, is what I'm saying, that you can show up here.
Okay, I made a note and I'll highlight it and I put a note to discuss back again.
People not getting their benefits, a lot of people miss doses of medicine while this is going on because of the lack of notification ahead of time when the decision was made in September. And people weren't notified until a week before this change started happening.
And I understand, but it wasn't a loss of benefit. It was, they were not following the protocols to get the medicine.
Members and our employees that, hey, this is changing because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. We are switching over to here. They're gonna be doing this protocol. So you need to start getting that, you can start front loading it so that they didn't have to go through all that. But at the last minute, when it was during a holiday break, when they found out and that it was gonna be changing in a week.
I understand.
When they knew months beforehand, it was approved in September. So there was no, so that's just part of.
I would like to think we have learned from those, what happened moving forward, so. But again, I will discuss that again with risk management and with the, I don't have the new director in place, but I will discuss with Mr. Ward regarding this part. Section 14. Section 14 talks about salary supplements and for advanced degree. We are proposing removing the whole entire paragraph and we are rewriting it, the second paragraph. And the reason being is because we are going to put a proposal in which it pays some type of supplement to instructional employees who do not have their advanced degree aligned in an area of certification. Okay, so that's the reason for that language. The first portion of the language, a salary supplement will be awarded for a master's degree at a specialist degree or earned from an accredited college or university. The higher salary supplement as established in Appendix B would only be awarded if the advanced degree is held in the individual's area of certification. That means it's going to continue on the same. It's not changing. If the employee who received the advanced degree differential prior to July 1st, 2011 are grandfathered and will continue to receive the higher differential provided there is no break-in service with the district. That first part basically states it's the same language as the top part. The last sentence is the way it changes. If the advanced degree is not held in the instructions employees area certification, a lower salary supplement as established in Appendix B will be awarded regardless of degree level or type. So now we're moving to compensation. So go ahead and pass performance pay and the salary schedules. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna begin with the compensation piece. As you were aware, we had an executive session right after the board meeting this past Monday, and the topic was discussed regarding the bonus. The idea was expressed whether or not, since it's a bonus, it doesn't need to follow the same structure that performance pay had. the board, looking at the request, the comments that I submitted to them based on what we discussed, and your proposal, I also informed them that your first intention was when we calculated the cost of the first proposal with the 1,200, 900, 960, and 900. The intent was that the 1.2 million that the TSI cost was part of it. So backing that out, that comes up to about 2 point something million, which I reported on last time. So the board agreed as far as the bonus, so they agreed to go ahead and increase the highly effective, regardless of contract, whether annual or professional, grandfathered, they will get the higher amount, $800, based on the summative rating, and the effective will get the lower amount, which is the 400. That cost is $1.9 million. Actually, $1,934,822. That is the actual cost of increasing the bonus from the 400, 300, 320, 300 to that amount. Further on, if you look at the salary schedule, which is the next page, what I did on the salary schedule to actually go with the compensation of advanced degree, there was discussion. I communicated to the board that you had submitted the request for advanced employees with an advanced degree that are not held should be receiving some type of compensation for their advanced degree. We discussed it, but we also discussed that in order for us to take care of all 222 employees, it was too costly. And discussion was had about, we need to start somewhere. They agreed to this language. Instructional employees with an advanced degree not held in an area of certification will qualify for the following salary supplement, regardless of level. Basically, if it's not in the certificate, they will get a $500 supplement. And that comes out to well, I thought I wrote it here for you guys. That comes out to about $78,000. The $500 supplement for the 222 comes out to about $77,042. That's with French rate and all, taxes and all, and FRS. So basically, we are at this point matching your request. The only difference is that we cannot, in lieu of what the budget is with FTE, we cannot make that 800 recurring. We can only provide it as a bonus. The board understands, is very appreciative of every employee. We understand that your request to this point. Before anybody else asks any other questions regarding this, I will add, that way it's out in the public. I cannot pay this before Christmas unless I have it approved on the last board meeting in December. So I know there was communication intended for us to be able to go ahead and we're trying to come to a tentatively agreement before Thanksgiving break. With that said, I went ahead and discussed with HR and payroll what can happen. If we agree by next week and you're able to ratify before the next board meeting, we can put the contract on the December 8th board meeting. And that way we can process immediately at least the $800 bonus for all teachers. Because I can process that prior to December Christmas break. But that is the only, all other, the TSIA and all that, because it requires retro, I would have to go ahead and process after. So, or the advanced degree. The only thing I can process before Christmas break is the bonus, because bonus are paid in full without retro. So I will also add, there was a lot of comment, which I know Mr. Dodd mentioned it in the board meeting. Or I believe he did a comment. There was a comment made that we were at 15% fund balance. We are not. We ended at 12 last year. So I want to go on record with all the funding changes. We ended at 12. We tried to make as many changes as possible, and we opened this school year at 3% based on staffing. Now, obviously, by the end of the year, based on retirements, resignations, and whatever allocations we have to reappointments, there is an estimated fund balance that we might be close to 8. So, but that's what I wanted to make sure I clarify, because we're not at 15. Do you have any questions regarding compensation?
I have I was wondering, what about, did any, what about, administration in the district office with their raises? What are they looking at? What are you looking at for that, for percentage wise?
We haven't made a final decision on that yet. I have bargaining tomorrow with the other bargaining unit, and they have not proposed any compensation. So I'm gonna be discussing that with them tomorrow. So I don't even know what their compensation looks like, but it's only so much we can do. So, do you have any other questions? Okay, so then I'm gonna go ahead and go with go ahead and let's go over. No, I just didn't know. Go ahead and pass 10 first to clarify something on it, and then I'll go to 11. So with 10 and 11, I'm not gonna go through the whole article. I'm gonna go with what I noted as questions or clarifications or change language. So if I missed something that you had a question on, please point it out to me and I'll get back to it, okay? Section 2, there was a question or discussion regarding digital equipment, whether it's considered computer or not. I had that conversation at the district, and we're adding the word / technology equipment to include computers, as that will be defined as a computer equipment, but we are not accepting, I'm turning back on the with normal wear and tear. We'll accept it with normal wear and tear, but not if it's completely damaged or destroyed. Unless it's destroyed while you're working, that's different, but not if it's returned, not in working conditions.
The instructional employee will not be financially responsible for any missing and or damaged textbooks or digital equipment / technology equipment with normal wear and tear.
Correct. Um, page.
What about the instructional employees required to cover lunchroom?
What section is that?
There, section.
That is okay, I didn't have a note on that one. I apologize for it. That is something we can address internally with each administrator to make sure that they have a schedule for them. So,
But if it's supposed to be in, practice, then it should be codified in our contract. Clear as kind.
I understand at this time, we're not gonna accept that language. So,
But if that's the expectation, why won't you accept that? I don't understand.
We're not,
I just don't understand if that's the expectation, why won't you accept that language?
the expectation of them covering lunchroom and other supervision duties will select a time for duty-free lunch and breaks in collaboration with administration. Okay, so then let me caucus and come back with different language. The other section that I had in notes was page section 7, page 3. There was a rewrite because of the pronoun, I believe. Is that correct? And add instructional employees, so that's the language, the instruction that was the rewrite. I wanted you to see it. In so doing, comma, the instructional employee is accountable for the outcomes of professional judgment and for meeting current state mandates. That removes the pronoun out of that. The other note that I had section 12. You wanted to pre-planning days to mimic their contract hours. And we can try to do that, but some schools on doing pre-planning, like Rob, you help me out, like you may have a middle school that their start time is 9. What's the start time for middle? 9:20, 8:45. And what is doing pre-planning? Do you follow that same contract time?
8 o'clock on Wednesdays.
So they follow the 8 o'clock. So it's, I'm not sure how to,
It's 8:45 Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and 8 o'clock, 3:30 on Wednesdays. Is that about 3:30? Sorry, I go back, so we usually do 8 to 3:30.
a lot of them, some of them do the elementary schedule. So I'm not sure. You had requested pre-planning days to mimic their contract hours. So
And that's pretty close, like to 3:30, it's right there in the ballpark.
did I have something different other than that note? Do you have something different, Jessica, for that? So that's what I wrote on my.
I think that's what we talked about that too, the district things, like high school, we probably go same thing. Yeah, right, 8 to 3:30, yeah.
That's what we, that's the reason. The main thing is they have a certain time that they're notified ahead of time, so if they have childcare that they need to work out, they're able to get that out. Sometimes they don't know their times have changed until like a week before, and that's hard for them, especially if they're not used to the new schedule, like if they're moving from one school level to another, or new to the district. So the main thing is making sure that they can have that conversation with their employees to let them know that it's going to be different.
Don't you send them?
We do, we send out the pre-plan agenda, I mean, sometimes a month in advance before pre-plan, so the teachers can prepare. I mean, I could understand maybe a new hire that was just hired on board, but as soon as we hire them, it's close to the start of the year, we'll sit there and have conversations with them, let them know the pre-plan agenda is sent to them and they know the time. But for the majority of the staff, you know, we send it out, most schools probably a month in advance, or pre-planning starts, or a couple weeks before.
You guys mail them or email?
We email them, but we have everybody's email address.
Or what
And
about, like, cause you have a lot that, like, I know that in the past that some, schools have actually mailed them out too, with a welcome letter. And so that way you'd be getting those that don't have their district email yet.
we have their personal email, so if they don't have a district email yet, we use their personal email. And we attach that to, yeah,
Is that month in advance of expectation?
that's just a ballpark, I don't wanna say for all schools.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, you know, we send it out, I'll just say 2 to a month, maybe 2 weeks out to a month, it's sent out. We always work with them. I've never had, and I can't speak for all of the schools, obviously you hear from a lot of other schools. I have yet to hear a concern about times that we've had for 8 to 3:30. I think teachers for the most part like it because they're getting out at 3:30 versus 4:15. So that little bit of early, you know, release.
It's a little more on the high school side.
Okay, so I can't speak for all schools, but just for where I am at East Ridge, it hasn't been an issue. And again, it's probably why, because we get out,
Yeah.
the 3:30 is probably, they like that, so,
I know when I worked for school, I like the Wednesday study.
yeah.
So I did not know what else you wanted me to re-add there, other than, I'm sure they communicate, and I'm sure teachers also communicate with their administrators, hey, at what time do I need to be there? So,
If this, I know this is something that it's part of the, board leadership committee. Hopefully, if we can get that going more consistently at sites, this will be something that can be addressed at the site level.
And I'll have there's a breakfast that we do at the beginning of the year where it's 7 AM, but I never tell them they have to be there at 7 AM. I mean, I really encourage them because it's a great venue that, you know, they put on for teachers. I'm sure you guys are aware. So that's the only probably change that we have in the pre-plan agenda. That's a little off in the norm. Is that 7 o'clock breakfast? But that's fun and we're getting prizes. It's good, it's good stuff.
so that's all I had in that section. If I go further down, the next section, 13, I had highlighted the part that we had discussion on the any media recording by district. And we discussed about having feedback. That's something that I know Rob and I discussed, and the intent is we want leaders when they go into the classroom to provide feedback to their teachers. A lot of them actually, when they take pictures also, they take it because they want to remember what they saw so that they can have a conversation. So
I'd say, we're gonna strike through in the language side, but I think in our learning side, we definitely will make sure that the teachers voice, because I don't think leaders knew that they want feedback on what they're taking pictures of. So I think that's something that we can do. I'd rather work with, when we sit down, Melissa, you, or with Jessica, we meet with you guys, you let me know what school is not doing that, and I'd rather work one-on-one with the school, because I don't think that's a rash concern. I think it's more of a site-based oversight. Does that make sense? But again, when we do the picture, it is learning for the team, for us. And it's a lot of times just to remember, what did you see? So that I can actually either have conversation around it. But if it's something spectacular, going back to last time we talked, that you want feedback on, hey, this was great. I really like seeing that in your classroom. We can have conversation around, why did you take that picture? And I would say if teachers feel like that's a gotcha, then that's something that we need to work on, because that's not the intent of it at all, okay? So I would like that for you to bring that to our attention if that's how it's being used, because it should be.
Section on observation classroom is specific to performance evaluations, district walkthrough scenarios where it has to do with improving instruction, right?
Right.
So, and I know this is old language, but in the first sentence that refers to visits to an instructional employee's classroom by persons other than district, school administrative, supervisory personnel, and other authorized personnel, who would be other than those folks visiting the classroom? There've been times when people will come in and look at how you run maybe a flex time. I know when I was at district, we had people coming from Hawaii and Colorado to see how we would run those things, so they're not, they're guests.
Or even if I'm a PBIS school or I'm
I can speak to
For
that.
you,
We,
same
we
thing.
have we're an Avid National
Avid.
Business School, so we have people on site all the time and we do visits from other schools. They come, and we do showcases. So we usually are walking through classrooms and showcasing, Avid best strategies in the classroom, and those teachers all, they agree to have visitors in their classroom.
Those visitors from outside district employment allowed to take pictures and record?
So no, we don't want them to record. I've never said, no, you can't, but it's just been common practice for them to go into the room and observe. So usually if I've never had that issue where they're recording, but if they were, I would probably at that point tell them, no, they can't, because we have students in there, so I don't know the purpose of recording. So we have have more conversation around that, but they know before they walk in, what they can and can't do.
So if in that scenario, a visitor who's not a district employee is there to observe practice in a program or
Yes.
whatever, and take pictures on their personal devices, would we go in and take pictures of the classroom?
Of a teacher's, that if something was on the teacher's wall, I would say, I mean, I wouldn't say why not, if it was something that they wanted to share with their school. Why not? I mean, if it's good instruction, why not share it?
Well, that's has to be shared together.
And I understand that. If I saw that happening, I probably have a sidebar conversation with the teacher, and they know why they're in there. They're not there being observed as far as,
Advance support.
well, they're on a schedule.
Yeah.
So usually when we have visitors in there, if they're taking pictures, there'll be something that they want to share with their school. It's a showcase.
So at that time, when they're notified in advance, could be a good time, good opportunity for
Yes.
the administrator to say, would you have objections to photos being taken of student work or things like that?
Right.
Right, it would be ideal to have that beforehand.
Yeah, I agree. I can see that, yeah.
I have another question about the recording. So if they're doing recordings, because most of them are only coming in with their phones, are they been trained on how to turn off the recording on the microphone to be able to do the recording without sound?
No,
I
I
don't-
I'm gonna say no, I don't, that's
So then.
that's a
if-
gotcha question, of course
Well,
not.
but, well, my point is if they are, if that's the part of it, that
Yeah.
they have to have it without the voice to record, then without the consent. And consent is not just being notified that they're coming in, that's not giving consent.
I mean, I go back, for us, I'm gonna go back and say, we don't encourage them to record when we have visitors. We don't have them record. Now, if they were recording, obviously we'd have a conversation with them, but, you know, taking a picture of an exemplar in the room of, some type of wicker strategy. I mean, that's always been something that we share, but I go back to Rob's point. I think you said that maybe we just need to have some conversation about, you know, when we go into a room.
Yeah, and
being mindful.
well, I think when especially if we do learning walks, I don't know, we don't recommend any video recording. We recommend our phones in the pocket. We're doing everything on paper. We do sometimes take pictures. That's probably what we have done. But to my I don't know of any time we've ever taken a video without the consent of, we did a collaboration where we watched a planning lesson. That planning team knew what we were doing and we videoed, we would let them know, I think, what the intent was. Or if we want a model classroom, showing what modeling looks like, or what's the difference between demonstration and modeling, we would have that conversation with that teacher if we're gonna video them. So I don't see where videoing has ever been a concern. So again, if it is, that's something we need to address, because that's not, again, our point or our intention.
And again, for the record, I just wanna make sure, I don't allow video recording. But the pictures I could see, if it's an exemplar in a classroom, I could understand that, like something at best, a wicker strategy or some type of strategy the teacher's using for instruction.
Okay, the same thing can be different from the teacher to say, I am not comfortable with this. And, you know, I don't think anybody goes into a visit of an exemplar room, you know, for anything other than the teacher.
I would agree with all of that, but the one problem, again, all of us have ESC students, we have to watch that as a national board certified teacher, I had to have consent from every student, so I know in my room who has given that consent, and if it's hung up on the wall, you know, what is allowed and what is not. So when someone comes in, also, as we all know, when students are not allowed to be taking pictures, then we have to be careful of the modeling of somebody just taking out their cell phone and taking that picture, because I spend a great deal of time, as we all do, telling the students they need not photograph in the room for any reason. So hopefully we're saying the same. However, when you email and ask me if you can come, then I'm gonna prepare that with everybody and say people are coming. I'm so happy to be showing you off. Let's be on our best behavior, and the same thing's gonna go as you all said. So hopefully it's all crystal clear, but that's where all we're saying is we hopefully would know the reason, like you just said. And then if there's gonna be pictures, then we would know, and we could say to our students, there may be pictures on these days. If there's anything on the wall you wanna take off. It's just that simple communication. But that's why we have it in here, because apparently it happened on more than one occasion where it didn't happen. So if we get the email, we can tell our classes what's going on, and that's why we want the protocol there. If there's gonna be recording, we should be told. If there's gonna be pictures, we should be told. That's all, just simple communication.
Like I said, that's our intent. So I'm not.
I mean, that's why we're saying here, where you have the recording and the photos, you know, should include the instructional, that's where that notifies us. And if it is in the contract, then everybody will make sure that they follow that, and then we follow it with the students, because we know that we cannot record or take pictures if we don't have that consent. There is a difference in the hallways and in the classroom. In the classroom, we have to be very careful. So obviously, so do you, you know?
Just to be clear, we're not taking the language off, we're just keeping the language that we accept it there. It's green, I don't have it red. The only portion that we took off was the word media and or. We're keeping any recording, whether it's, because that's by law what we cannot do, so.
But it's the that if the student is recorded, they have to know. And they have to consent in the classroom, but not in the hallway.
So that's our intent, to notify you that we're coming.
Right, but then that's not the student that so then you're gonna be recording me, not my student. So I'm consenting to you recording me as long as it's not my voice, is what the intent of this language is.
We get consent from the students, right?
Yes, we cannot record unless we have the
That's my
right
point.
paperwork, but that's for recording, so I apologize, I thought we were talking about somebody taking a picture.
Correct.
Well, I think that was both,
It was
Like
that
of,
was-
both.
I needed
of something up on the screen, not of students, or anything else, just taking a picture of work. And I don't even know if the student's name was on there, I don't know, but, or some type of strategies, that's what I thought that this discussion was primarily about.
Let's
Okay.
go.
How we got here was that if we didn't know, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, the video recording, I certainly understand. I
Right.
mean, but
So let me put to you something different. We have classes that have instruction outside the classroom. If something happens outside the classroom, we have hallway cameras, we have outdoor cameras. That's public record. Somebody can come up to the front, ask me for a timestamp and a video recording that happened outside in camera, whatever, outside the front gate, and there was a teacher doing a lesson. They have access to that by law. So me taking out the word media is no different. It's just allowing pictures. Us informing you that we're coming to your room can provide you that guidance that, hey, anything that we shouldn't have up, we can take down. So I'm not following why not having the word media would be an issue.
the recording and taking pictures in the classroom. Would be,
But sometimes teachers have classrooms outside
but
the,
this is, if we're outside.
Hey.
Is 24/7.
correct.
That is their class.
That is their classroom.
But we're not.
Well, that's explicitly excluded from statute.
No, it's not.
That it's only, you only have to get consent when it's inside the class.
No, it's a public, we're public employees, public building.
Yes, you only have to get consent when it's inside the class. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. You're trying to make it only the classroom, but it wouldn't be fair to anybody else having a classroom outside.
So nobody should have it.
And I can't do that legally. I cannot put,
Well, the exterior cameras do not record.
correct,
Well,
and that's what we're saying, but the video only, which take pictures, you can still a picture out of a video.
But you. And then say this is Hanson's classroom, because then people would know who's in that class and thereby who is enrolled in an ESC class.
But what I'm getting at, so by law, I'm asking about how the law is, not what this is, how the law is. By law, you cannot record in the classroom, you can outside, yes.
You can, no, it's recording, you have cameras constantly recording
I'm
outside,
aware of that.
and in the classroom, we don't record anything.
So you said, yes,
You-
my question, you cannot record.
Maybe I
in the classroom.
misunderstood, yeah.
So in the classroom, you can't record.
We
Outside
cannot,
the classroom, you can record.
we cannot record unless we have it's a two-party consent. There has to be,
Yes, that's already unfair then, from your points of view, and that's okay. I mean, that doesn't mean that you should never have, clearly the law sees a difference between inside the classroom and outside the classroom. We can't really argue with that. So that's not, foundation to say, well, then we shouldn't make any other distinctions between in the classroom and out of the classroom, because some teachers work inside the classroom, only some teachers only work outside the classroom. There's already that unfair.
so all I'm saying is we don't mind as long as you guys are, but we accept the language only, we don't accept the media, the word media, or we accept any recording. So. I will move to section 16, final grades. I believe I did accept the second sentence last time we met. I accepted the last sentence, certain employees should be notified of all grading deadlines at the beginning of each semester. I changed the next section that I have a question on. I don't have a question. We just wanted to reiterate something about the SAC and PTO. LCA, I understand, meets with the superintendent monthly. And I want you to, if you have an issue regarding anything with PTO or SAC, please bring it forward to us so that we can address it. You know, teachers are more than welcome to participate in all those meetings, and if you want a member to be there, that's fine. They're public meetings and they get advertised. So I didn't have any other language there to add. Same thing, I wanted to say, I did have a conversation with the superintendent regarding ESC and some of the issues that you're facing, and specifically with teachers writing IEPs, the issues they're facing with peer and all that. On a standpoint, I heard you. on a standpoint of what I'm doing as far as HR, I am analyzing our budget for substitute to see what we can allow do to principals, whether or not I can communicate with them, start calling more subs if you need to provide a sub for an ESC teacher to be able to take some time to write IEPs. It's just, I cannot blanketly say that I'm gonna codify it and make it as immediate into language to every school, because not every school is experiencing the same issue. But I will communicate that to principals once I finish that analysis, when I am able to speak to Mr. Ward and see where we are up to date with as far as budget for substitutes. I do know that some schools already provide that assistance. Some do, some don't. So with that said, the part on the language that I had made a note was the part of B, the district committee and ESC. I just want to let you know that I'm gonna try our very best to address it best way possible in lieu of our budget. And it's also something that we're gonna discuss in senior staff as to ways that we can help out. But it's not something that I can quickly put into place as far as ESC providing planning days and providing days. I know it's happening, but I'm gonna try to see if I can address it even further. That's what I can do. The committee. So the last portion was the committee at the end. Yes, that is language that it's in the SEIU. And
Yes, you can, yes.
that's what we say. That's something that same thing that I said about issues that you have when you meet monthly. Please bring it up at that point. And it's something that if we need to form a committee, please discuss it with the superintendent, and she'll be more than glad to go ahead and schedule a committee for anything. She has done that in the past with LCEA, and it's something that we can work with you on. Mhm.
Or even the superintendent's advisory
Committee.
committee, where we brought a representation from each school, just to talk about
Correct.
commonalities, what's working, what's not, how do we get more aligned within from school to school?
For the
To do a work, for
Mm-hmm.
ESC.
equity of load within each school as well.
Well, I think just to find out where is the inequity,
Correct.
you know what I mean, just to dig deep to find out what's happening. So if it is a specific school that there's errors, well, then we need to work
need
with
to
that
find out.
specific school, right? But if we don't bring them all together, we don't know. I think that's the whole, I think that's the point of, I think what you were asking for, and I think that's something we can consider, okay?
Should we be willing to collect data?
You know, I think that's with it, right?
That's with it. It's
Typically,
typically with it.
Typically, what we did was we had homework, like the representative of the school went back and said, they do the fact finding. How many do you do? Because I've talked to several ESE specialists and they do it different from school to school. Some VE, some support facilitators do it, some, if I'm enclosed on IST, I do my own kids, so it varies from school to school. And a lot of it depends because the ESE school specialists, sometimes they also have to do charters and not, or private. So depending on how many of those they have, some schools do it different. So even in a short investigation, we found out there's a lot of differences. But to put a specific number on it, we can't based on, we need more data.
And I do know that one of the topics was giving planning days for writing IPs. I know that there are schools calling for subs for some teachers that are ESCBE for writing IEPs. I know it's happening, but it's only on certain schools because of they haven't found a allocation. They haven't been able to fill up an allocation. I know ESC school specialists are writing IEPs. I am married to one. So I know that she writes IEPs at home and I understand what's going on with peer. So I get it.
Looking at TAs that are in the program to become teachers, to see if maybe they would be able to be subs for those days that help at the school level.
Right. I did get an email. I have not responded because I'm still collecting some information before I respond. Because that one, there's some good news to it, but I need to get all my information first before I respond. But that is also another option. And then the last thing that I had was the district committee at the end. Yes, that is language that is in the SEIU, but I also found out that is language that is not, that committees are not happening because they have not sent representation. It's all language that the previous president had but was never, a committee was one time called, but never was formed. They've never had a district committee. They've had meetings directly with the superintendent, like similarly like you have, and that's where they discuss things. So at this time, that is something that I'm planning on addressing with the other bargaining unit, so we're not accepting adding that at this point in time. And that will be Article 10, the interns.
Yeah, this one.
Interview of paraprofessionals to the next.
For section 31.
Yep.
B, are you accepting the 4?
Section, where?
B, section 31B? That matches, LCIU?
Yes, I accepted the 4.
Okay, so it wasn't cross out. so find them-
I need to cross out the 2, you're correct. Thank you for catching that. Yes, I accept the 4. But I put 3 on the second sentence. No, okay. On the format to each school committee. The other one's a departmental safety committee.
No, not that, that's underlined. And B still, because you have 2 and 3.
Correct. So I accepted the 4 at the top, or actually I should have crossed the 4 because I'm accepting 3, not 2 on the second sentence. So the top sentence, if you want to, I can change it to 3. You're correct. The language on the other unit is 3. So it's not 4. So let me rephrase that. I'm gonna put, instead of 4, I'm gonna put 3 on the top, and then the second sentence, 3. I'll correct it on mine and then I'll send it, when we send you another copy in Word, you'll have it. Yes, make a note of that so that I don't wanna. I don't wanna miss it, so. Okay. That's it. That's Article 10. Go ahead and pass Article 11.
Um,
Yeah. Which compensation?
This,
Okay,
if you pay it by performance, what about those that have been working less than 2 years, or 2 years or less? They would get anything? Because they don't have an evaluation, they don't have, they're not rated a highly effective or effective yet.
I have teachers that started, if they have they started in January, February, they have evaluations. So they're still probationary, but they have an evaluation. They will qualify. The only time they will not qualify are if they're first year, this year, they just got hired this year, and there is no evaluation. But if I have a probationary teacher from last school year with an evaluation, they will qualify for the performance pay,
Okay, what about?
even with the TSIA. We've always done it that way. Past practice has always been, as long as they have an evaluation, they count. They,
Can you explain the last sentence where it says instructional probationary contract employees without 24-25 LCS team final summative evaluation rating do not qualify to receive performance pay or the bonus?
Okay, so if I have two contracts that are probationary. The IPF, which are the ones that started this year, and then the IPAs, the ones that started last year, but started after the first day of school. So because by law, they have to be probationary for 1 year, they moved from IPF last year to IPA this year. But that contract ends on the day of their anniversary. So if I have somebody that started October 1st, when they start this year IPA, but on October 1st, they just became IA. Correct. Their probationary ends. I'm sorry? Because we update contracts at the end of the year. But if somebody calls and say, is this person still probationary? HR always says, no, their contract probationary ended on such date. It's annually it has to be 1 year in probation by statute. But for example, if they don't have an evaluation from last school year, they don't qualify for it. So that's the only stipulation we're having on it. So we have IPA teachers that started last year in December, January, they have evaluations for last school year, they qualify. We've done that in the past few years. That's has always been done. We are the ones that, I'm one of the ones that reviews that. So I'm the one that provides that data. We don't look at category one. We don't look at any category. We only look at the contract, and we don't go by the contract in TNL. We go by the contract in Skyward. TNL has their contract and it's pulled from Skyward. So yes, they can go to TNL. Yep. If they log in on TNL, upper corner, profile, and they'll see their contract status. Correct. Correct. Okay, Article 11. Obviously, at the bottom of page 1, we agree removing the when reasonable. Second page, B, where it says, we accepted the instructional instruction should not be required to return to campus after student and staff dismissal during an emergency or inclement weather situation. We are adding the last two sentences. Administration will notify instructional employees when it is safe to return to campus. Instructional employees may not return to the worksite until authorized by administration.
I have a question about that.
Go ahead.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but my question is with our flooding that we just had, high school, the notification did not come out for people to go to campus until after high school was due to report. So my concern is that's, how is that notification gonna be going out?
That's something that I discussed with Mr. Farnsworth regarding notifications, because I know communications can put call outs by phone, we can send emails, we can also send out emails, we can do all three different types because we have the capability of that. So
You'll make sure that it's out.
that's the intent. The intent is to prevent somebody from getting hurt because there were people at school sites that shouldn't have been returning just to see their classroom, and there was water, there was electrical, live feed. So we were trying to prevent anybody from getting hurt, pretty much.
Will they be notified in the first place? Campus is closed and that they need to leave.
Correct. That the whole purpose is to let them know that, yes, we are gonna call anybody back, but we don't also want anybody coming back after the storm unless they're notified. Because typically there's teams that we have going to school to inspect the grounds to see if they're safe to be able to return.
Right, but you would, in order to know that you should not report it, you would need to know your campus is the place that's even under consideration.
Correct, correct. So those are things that when I had that conversation with Mr. Farnsworth, our intent was to send all communication possible.
Okay, so you're saying you would have to first, before you say administration will say not to.
Correct.
You didn't get any news that it was closed in the first place, sir.
Correct.
You're saying implement back to you. They may not have known that there was a problem.
Correct, and that's the intent. We need to notify them. So that's the intent.
You know, it says that you can't go back. If you didn't get notified that there was any reason not to go there, then I don't want you to be in trouble.
Well, typically like a hurricane, when we have a hurricane and we put the dates on the website, you can expect to return back. If we have something else, we will notify that school if it's a particular school that can open.
Because there was a reason not, because it was recent storm, I'm sure
Correct.
that there were those areas, but were those schools told? Because not everybody has to their phone, not everybody brings their computer home, how would you know?
Correct, and that part, I can't answer that until I'm only going,
Until we get together how they're affected, but we need to check before you go back.
correct.
And I'd ask that you guys, and I know that sometimes it's, well, actually, letting them know one way or the other early enough, the ones who have to drive hour and a
Correct.
half.
Yeah.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Our intent is to notify always possible. So we don't want to be in a situation that anybody gets hurt because they did not know. So. That's what I had there. Page 3, section F, I had a note regarding the sentence in the middle where pre-planning schedules will include the amount of individuals self-directed planning time and lunch time each day. I'm trying to think what was the. Is that something that is not happening during pre-planning? Because I had it highlighted and I don't recall the notes on it.
I'm guessing if we send out the schedules, that is listed on their daily schedule. So we had a question about that. I don't know why it wouldn't be, why leader teachers wouldn't know, or their staff wouldn't know what time lunch was, or when they would be working in their classroom.
Yeah, I think based on our earlier conversation, things are sent out usually.
Yeah, they get the
Right.
schedule, so then.
Oh, lunch during pre-plan?
No, the schedule, that will be on their schedule for the week.
What time they're in the lunch?
Lunch or planning.
That's what
or
I'm saying,
in their-
so note that they need to have lunch during because we put it on our pre-plan schedule, we tell them if lunch is from this time to this time.
That's what we're at, that just me, that's what this is, just codifying that will be on the schedule.
The only thing is on a self-directed day, you're telling them when to go to lunch. Can they choose when to go to?
Well, it
I
depends,
mean-
'cause sometimes-
You know, a lot of them actually do say, you can go to lunch during this time and this time, and,
Okay.
but some can say just, go during an hour during this time.
Or it's
You
gonna
know,
say
because-
there's a meeting from this time to this time, and after that, it's your planning time and your lunch time. But I guess some people are not getting that information. Yeah, but not the work days.
No, not working.
No, wait, we're talking about pre-planning. It's pre-planning.
What do you want?
No.
And show you.
So not to make this long, I'm not gonna add it or accept it, but we're gonna make communication with all administrators following the school year when they have their pre-planned schedules to include lunchtime in it. I mean, we did accept the 1 hour, so that's fine. The class size, we understand, we just cannot. The way that we can do logistically. I don't wanna go back into that law, but we're meeting class size. Okay, page 5, I had it highlighted on the $20 per hour. I did have a conversation with Mr. Farnsworth, who had a conversation with our AD for the district regarding the $20 per hour. Yes, he had a conversation with, I believe it was Elizabeth, but it was not for that they can afford it. It was just that one school was able to do that, and that was Mandora High School. So it's not something that every school is able to do. So There was not a conversation that that's something that they can all do. If they can afford it, something that the school will have that choice to do. But it's not something that we're prepared to add to contract right now. I had a note on section 3 of that page regarding the all instructional employees who receive no less than 180 minutes a week of self-directed individual planning. You were referencing to known load bearing. And if I recall correctly, this was because they couldn't have a time because sometimes they'll be working all day without having a lunch. That is something that we're gonna communicate with principals. And they don't have a set schedule, as far as I know. I mean, I've talked to several principals. Most non-load bearing teachers, they have a duty schedule. If they assist during lunch, but do you set their lunch time? They pick their lunch,
Yes.
so
That they're, that, and this, and the reason I'm asking, is we have people who, they don't feel like they have a lunch break because they're doing lunch duties and they take the 20 minutes between to hurry up and eat because of all their other duties and responsibilities.
but please tell us so we can address it.
Or have them meet with a
Great.
principal too.
That's why we wanted the contract. Again, clear it is.
But I'm being clear, tell me who is not letting their staff eat so that I can address it.
Please know that they have that, because because some don't leave because this is more instruction or, classroom, instruction teachers or class load bearing teachers, that they don't feel like they get that too.
So how many schools is this happening at?
Well, we haven't taken a survey to get this information, but it is happening quite very routinely at secondary. And part of the problem is that if you don't know that employee A's lunch is at the end of fourth period before lunches start, then you might accidentally, as a coworker or administrator or whatever, plan something for them to do because you don't know that that is their lunchtime. So so the lunchtime, which is not this, but the lunchtime issue is that when something is flexible, a lot of times it gets overlooked. Because people don't know, it's not fair to not know when somebody is basically off the clock. And if you don't know, then if your principal calls you and wants you to come and meet with them, and that's your lunchtime, I guess you could say, hey, this is my lunchtime. But if you already know that, it makes it a lot easier on the employee to know that, to say, oh.
I just.
You already know.
I'm not load bearing, my face is doing this. Not load bearing, I have huge load every year. I don't have a prescribed schedule from my boss. I
Okay.
have a lot of latitude, I have a lot of flexibility, but I'm also a school counselor. We're pleasers, that's why we do our job. We don't stop, if I wanna have like a half an hour to myself because it's been a rough day and I really just need to make myself take my half an hour away, I have to hide somewhere where nobody knows where I am on campus. Otherwise, people just they just keep sending people to me. It's like, and you don't wanna be the person who's difficult to reach or the person who's always sending the kid away or whatever. So if there was, I don't know, it's almost like it's almost like you need to be told that you're supported with taking a half an hour and that no one's gonna accuse you of being the difficult person or the person who's trying to shove children and duties and responsibilities away, if that makes sense. Because otherwise, I will go in, I will get to work before 7:10 and I will work all the way until 3 o'clock without stopping anywhere in between.
We should.
And I'm not the only person. who
Yeah,
does
I
that.
understand. Here's my thing. If I said, okay, you have to take lunch now, I designate your A lunch.
Mhm.
And now you have a meeting during A lunch, but now you take it during B. We pigeonhole you into a time. I'd rather say all instructor employees receive a 30-minute duty-free lunch and just leave it. I mean, that's kind of the understood that you do have that. I can't take responsibility if your conscience won't let you do that because we have thousands of individuals that
This is
have.
my
Yeah,
It's the negative feedback from the
right.
kids who say, I can never see so-and-so. They're always busy, they're whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it's
Right.
like, it's like,
I understand that, yeah.
I need the permission and the
Right.
knowing that if I give myself permission to take a half an hour break
Mm.
and not to be eating while I'm taking care of a student or a colleague or a parent on the phone, that I'm not gonna be branded as the difficult counselor who can't ever be reached, because during that 30 minutes when everybody in America was apparently free and needed me, I just needed some food.
Right, well, and sometimes, so, I do understand that from the high school level, like. Lunch is time where students might have time to go see me, so I don't take mine during lunch.
Right.
But if I have a schedule outside my door of when my lunch is, or if I put a sign outside, I'm at lunch right now, I don't see where that is a. I don't, we want you to have lunch, I guess, I don't know how to communicate that differently.
Well, and this was really, that part was not for lunch, it was about planning
Is
time.
planning time in that one.
Planning
yeah.
time, so nobody's, it's just,
And it's
they don't have a set schedule, no Lowberry has.
by the week. It's not giving a set schedule. It's saying sometime during this week, I will have this amount of time for planning. Doesn't, you can, if the person works in their schedule, if they take it all on one day, then that's great. If they take a little bit every day, then that's great. It works best for their schedule, because that's why we set it by the week for non-load bearing versus what we did for the teacher or for regular classroom teachers where it's every day.
We're just looking for equity, and if everybody is the same on here, whether you're load bearing or not, if your planning period, you get 6 counselors and they have period 1 through 6 as their time. If they don't take it, too bad for them, but that was their time. And if their lunch is this time, then put them on a master schedule like everybody else, and nobody can say you didn't get your time. So if your plan period is here, I mean, I know at Easter, we used to have an hour lunch for all the counselors and that was that, but then as the numbers have gotten bigger and bigger, I can't speak for what they're doing now. But they also have their guidance express and all that. But again, we do have people that used to be completely non-load bearing, now they're teaching 3 classes and I don't see them on the master schedule little lunch. So I, as another teacher, can't even look and see when is this teacher's plan, can we meet for this? So again, it's for so many other reasons that if we knew that that teacher is not meeting with students at that time, that's non-load bearing, that counts or that whatever. It would be so many other things that when you look at the master, you see when the non-load bearing person is potentially available. And as we are getting more and more jobs onto our plates, we could also see those things. They would have the same exact thing as us. Also for testing, when they're pulled, they would have the same planning period that they're not available when the schedule rotates 1 through 4. So there's so many other pieces of equity that they would then be involved in if it simply was on a schedule that that's the day that they have that period. I don't know if that's possible or not, but we're just saying that we're all part of the bargaining period, so why not have that on the schedule?
It also
Something to
takes away
consider.
the flexibility of, say, like the instructional coaches to be able to push in and model. Like if I have a teacher that comes right now and says, I really need help right now. No, I can't, because on my schedule, I have to be at lunch.
I mean,
So
again,
they have that flexibility. I just think that, you know, they know that, I mean, we can make a conscious effort. Guys, take your 30-minute lunch. I mean,
This isn't just about lunch, it's about their planning.
I know,
Again, it's
yeah.
what, the whole
The-
point of the hours for
Yeah.
the week,
they get.
or the minutes for the week was to
Yeah.
give them that flexibility.
Yeah, and I understand, I think though from then do we have teachers in the room? The inequity is that some teachers, maybe not the ones sitting here, think it's inequitable anyway, because they don't have, they have flexibility all throughout the day, so there is on the other side. Now, that, okay, I understand in your- but- I hear you, that's what you have, but there's a lot of people that say, I don't know what this person does all day. Because that comes to us, so.
Give them the equity of having
Yeah.
having the same amount of planning time.
Yeah. I think differently when I am non-load bearing and I have flexibility throughout my day, even though I pack it nonstop. There is. I can work my schedule how I need to during that given day.
I think some of these pieces, something that I want to just bring into the space too to consider is that, I mean, you're sitting across the table from a bunch of unionists, right? I mean, we're all unionized, but not everybody in our district is unionized. And so my concern as just a high quality Lake County Schools employee is that whatever we put into the contract, because there are people who are not in the union, so they don't feel comfortable coming to me at a school site and asking questions. They're gonna just go online to the Lake County website and look at their contract. So some of these pieces that it might seem that we're being quite tenacious with some of these pieces, but it's so that there's clarity even for the people who are not in this unit. Because this body actually represents the people who are members of LCEA and non-members.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that the things that are in the contract for somebody that might not feel like, maybe they don't want to join the union for whatever that reasoning is, that at least it's clear in the contract so that they can get their answers on their own if that's their choice without having to see any of us. So that's some of this pushback. So just so we're clear about that too.
I think it might be worth noting, on a conceptual level, I actually 100% agree that at some point the individual needs to, stand up for themselves and assert themselves, that type of thing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they do say that you need to, legislate not for people as they may be, but for people as they are. And that's something, one of my big frustrations in this field, actually, as a matter of fact, is, also something that I think is more or less unavoidable, which is that teachers tend to be people who are people pleasers, as was said, who are, bend over backwards, just get it done type of people. As a matter of fact, I think that's how we ended up in this place in the first place, because, it gets 5% worse every year, we'll all just bend and take it. Anyway, and not to mention the whole children are, in your case, asking for help, being start coming down. So that said, just from a practical point of view, again, as far as like principles go, I think that you should assert yourself. And as a matter of fact, I'm happy to say that I say that to some of my employees or some of my coworkers who do the same thing, to do run around and eat while they're moving places. I'm like, listen, do not do that. They still sometimes do. And now where does this end up? Screwing things up on your end is that I think it does, at the end of the day, it increase attrition, increase stress, whatever you want to call it. But again, that person should take care of themselves. But practically speaking, if it's not happening, then perhaps something should be done about it. You know what I mean?
Can you just clarify for my understanding, because I deal with a lot of contracts, I've heard you say explicitly that all instructional staff, regardless of whether they have classrooms or not, are entitled to a 30-minute lunch duty-free, right?
It's in contract, yeah.
Okay, and the rule for planning time is for instructional employees to receive planning time each day according to the contract,
Classroom, correct,
classroom only.
correct.
So are non-classroom teachers not entitled to any sort of planning? According to your read of the language? Or are you simply saying that it's not a structured period?
They don't have a structured classroom period, so they choose their time for their work throughout the entire day. So in a sense, based on their duties at a school, it all depends. It's like a guidance counselor schedule at a high school may have periods in which they follow periods for the classes, because that's how it works. In an elementary school setting, they don't have a set schedule, because they may have parents that they may schedule a meeting or a call with somebody. So in a way, they're working, it's like, I don't want to say a lot, it's like their whole day, it's like a planning except for the lunch or duty, period. So that's why it's just, they're already working the whole entire day like a teacher is while they're on planning. If I can say that correctly, if I can compare it, because that's what they're working. So I'm not sure if I'm answering.
You have your coaches that are going into classes, they're having to develop lessons, they're having to develop, evaluate, the stuff that they're doing with the people they're working with. So they're still having to do all this stuff. She still has to come up with resources for her students and, her
we do
parents.
presentations in
and-
classes, and we do presentations in the evening.
So they're
we
still
do
having
health
stuff,
development.
So-
those planning stuff. So all we're asking is that during the week that they have that 180 minutes during the week at some point, that they can have that time to do those plans, to be able to do their job to the best of their
So
ability.
let me ask something. Do you get your time to plan?
So, my honest answer is that there are times when I am being come to relentlessly by administration saying, I need you to see this kid, I need you to do this thing, I need you to do this. And if I
you don't feel empowered in saying no to your boss in a lot of situations. And it's not about that the boss is any kind of way, it's that you don't necessarily feel like, I mean, like, I've tried to sometimes say, well, I have this scheduled, and sometimes I've literally been told, we'll cancel it. In fact, I've had administrators tell me to cancel my entire day. I've had administrators who told an ESE school specialist to clear their whole schedule because one kid was misbehaving and they didn't want to deal with that kid. So it's those experiences, if I'm being honest, that make me feel, despite all of my people pleasingness, that this language being codified and put in some flavor into the contract for the non-load bearing people, into the contract would be good, so that when I have to say to my boss, all I've done this week is handle emergencies that you guys keep bringing me. I need an hour to take care of this thing that's due on Monday. That I can lean into the fact that I have permission from the contract to do that, and that I'm not gonna get in trouble for it. And I'm not the disappointing employee, and I'm not less than, and all of these other things that we worry about.
And a lot of the annual contract teachers don't feel comfortable going to their administrator and saying that they need that time because they're afraid that at the end of the year, they're not gonna get rehired. So we need to have it in the contract codified so they know that they are entitled to that.
I guess I don't understand what they're planning. Like,
Correct.
planning still, I'm still planning, I could be answering calls, I could be doing other things, I can't see in an 8-hour day.
Deadline.
Yeah, I don't see where I don't get that. I get to build my schedule. I think it happens on certain occasions, correct? But then other days make up for that. That's why you said for a week and not per day. I don't know. I guess, like, from a teacher's perspective, I have planning. I'm gonna go make copies. I'm gonna do this. I don't know. I guess I don't know why we're even debating this piece, because I think during that contractual one from beginning to end, I have flexibility to build in and do what I need to get done during that day. I don't see how, why and where I don't.
And that's why I asked whether, do you feel like you get enough of your planning time? What's your position? No, what? So you're a counselor.
At high school, and I have been one at the elementary school. I did 13 years at one elementary school, and this is my 11th, 12th year at high school. And I've been here in this district the whole time, so. But what I'm saying is that there are just some.
Jessica, I'm not saying the whole day.
Wait, I'm
is
not saying
planning.
that. I may,
I'm not saying it's whole planning, but I have flexibility
I
to
have
build
flexi-
my day.
That's why I don't understand if they have that, like, if you're saying they have that flexibility already, then what's the problem with codifying it in the contract that they have this much time during the week so that they have that flexibility to make sure they get their stuff done for their meetings, they get their stuff done for their professional learning that they have to do, you know, and all the other stuff that they have to do, just like every other classroom teacher gets to do all the stuff that they need to do for their regular classroom job.
the same, just put the same thing,
If I have to say one thing, like I know that at the very beginning of the year, for example, your school counselors who are your ESOL contacts, all have to have 9 billion meetings
Okay.
by the end of September, right?
correct.
We can't think straight. We don't need anyone giving us one more thing to do, especially at schools that have high concentration of ESOL kids, right? Because we have to get those meetings done. And then if any new kids are coming in, we really want to get them in before the October FPE, yes? So there are these ebbs and flows in the year, right? But then if there's emergencies going on during this moment of I already have too much to do, then no, in that moment, in those weeks, I really don't get anything that resembles planning. I don't always get anything that resembles lunch, if I'm gonna be honest. And like, I roll with it because I've been in the district for, a minute. But do I feel like in that moment, that if my boss comes to me with one more thing to do, that I am supported in saying, no, I can't do that for you? Mm-mm, I don't. I feel like I just need to find a way to squeeze it in. But if it was in the contract, then I would know I'm not being the person who's being difficult. I would know that I'm saying, no, like, I know I'm non-load bearing. But I just need this 45 minutes to take care of something that's on an ESOL meeting. Okay,
I would also like the opportunity to address it where it's happening. So,
But it's happening all over in all different positions. This is not a 1, 2, 3 school. This is happening all over. And people don't feel comfortable coming up and saying that I need this time. And I think we need to codify it to let them know that they're entitled to that. Because there's no reason they shouldn't have that time to make the plan, to be able to gather the stuff that they need to complete their work for that week.
I think that's the thing, that like my admin would never say to any of our employees, don't take your lunch, right? Is that the employees don't take their lunch.
Sure.
Oftentimes because they have, you know, a ton of paperwork. I mean, you know, again, this is
Okay.
a try to make, try to make these people who are perhaps not predisposed towards confrontation in this type of manner and asserting these types of things more comfortable and more aware, more comfortable doing it and more aware that other people also do it. So it's less of a I am putting myself out there, like they keep saying, I'm putting myself out there as somebody who causes problems, and it's an at-will state, so.
Help me, where's that 180 minutes come from? I know you said it before, I just now, I'm
You
listening,
take the
so.
45 you take the 45 minutes and you multiply it by the, 4 times a week.
4 times a week.
Okay,
And it's only the 4 times a week because that's what the guarantee is for, yeah. You'll still have a lot of people.
What, yeah,
And
Yeah.
that even include the time for the Wednesday that the regular got.
yeah, that's what I want clarity on what is the 180. I guess walk me through, like, if you're, I guess I have a hard time saying, like, if my leader asks me to do something and I'm so watch there, I haven't taken my planning to do these things. I guess I just have a hard time thinking what that looks like, so. I think we want to be able to talk about it and then,
yeah, well,
and I think, I mean, like, from the school counselor perspective, I'm
Yeah.
sure that Michelle Connell would help gather data from the counselors at all 3 levels to see where this is going on. And again, I'm not saying that it's that my boss said,
right, no,
stop and eat.
No.
But
I
my
know.
boss is saying, I need you to do this, when this kid's having this situation, follow up with that, make sure you do it before the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Listen,
not
And if it
saying-
doesn't happen, things grind to a halt.
We-
So,
right.
But I'm not, like, I'm not
Like,
saying.
We shut down,
Like,
we
those
shut
kind of
down.
things, like,
I know.
it's not gonna happen.
we have a boss too, so we get it, we understand that point.
We're cut 12 teachers, that we're cut split with other people. Now we don't have peer work, and peer was down today. I have an hour after school. I thought I'd write 90, I can't. I'm
We
not
have a
gonna do it everybody.
counselor and a health liaison right now, so she's doing 2 full-time jobs.
It's like it's Project Runway, we're making it work.
I will, like, I'm
I
gonna,
appreciate you listening. I
yeah,
really do.
I'm listening, we're gonna continue talking about it. At this time, we just don't accept the language. So I guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree. But we are gonna have further discussions regarding this. Page 6, I'm sorry, page 6. I added on B, the or 4th. It had 30, if the 3rd planning period in a week is required, it said teacher employees must be paid, but I added the word or 4th. Because it was missing there.
I want to confirm that the way this is written, that you added for all instructional employees will be required to collaboratively plan 2 times a week during their planning period and or Wednesday. Can you please explain exactly what the expectation is that, because that reads that they would do
Tuesday,
Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Wednesday.
I think the 10th is 2 times a week. If a school determines Wednesday is, like, we're gonna meet, I know some schools meet, Wednesday is a planning day, we can change that to work out, it's Tuesday and that Wednesday, or it's gonna be Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay, so what I don't understand is that is already in the contract.
I know, well, it isn't,
It is,
well-
because if you do A and B, it's already there, it says in the second planning period.
it's more, it's,
Teachers or instructional employees will be given an equivalent amount of time of individual planning on early release Wednesdays.
the language is collaboratively. We want to require teachers to come together and work collaboratively. It's not, That's the key piece. I'm not worried about the 2 days. I'm working that they come collaboratively. That's the key
So-
language.
My next question is we had multiple principals who had issues with being able to get all their, meetings in on Wednesdays and their common planning 1 day a week. How do you expect to have 2 days of common planning and still be able to do all those meetings when they can't?
Well, they
do it
can,
now?
well, technically they can work, they can do 3 days a week if I plan 2, right? And then if I have the meeting on Wednesday,
No, that's what I just asked you.
Well, it's just the principals have to be, it has to be intentionally planned, and it can be done. I get my teachers, I have the Wednesday schedule set where the first 2 Wednesdays are mine, and then we've got, the committee meetings, and then the other Wednesdays with the teachers. So that I have 2 days of actual collaborative. planning.
Wait, yours is different because you guys voted and you guys actually give other times for them. So what you're saying is that they get 2 days a week plus Wednesday. That's what you're trying to tell me.
I would love that, yes.
But that's taking more planning away from our teachers and they don't have enough planning now.
I'm smiling because she's waving, I know. Again, we're stronger together than we are not, I know. Not when you have
And
190 kids.
I don't know about everybody else, but when I worked in the regular classroom, we did collaborative planning once a week, but we met as a team multiple days a week
Sure,
by choice.
sure, and that's what
There's
we,
a difference.
I
there's a
agree,
difference by, I think it happens organically if it's being done
yeah.
to the benefit of of the teachers versus being mandated and it being led by a coach. And it's not necessarily planning, but they're doing more professional development instead of actually planning, collaboratively planning. And that's the problem with that language is now you're asking for it to be required
Right,
and taking their Wednesdays from them.
right. Well, I am asking it to be required collaboratively, either Tuesday and that Wednesday, or if it isn't, if they give Wednesday on your own, it's Tuesday, Thursday. That's what the language should read. I'm not asking to take 2 planning periods and Wednesday to collaboratively plan.
I don't know why we need to codify that when we don't know when we're gonna get the other time back, we don't know when the committee is gonna meet, and we don't know when we're gonna.
Well,
get
that's
time
the
for
part.
everything else, so if that.
Well,
needs to be
I'm
specific-
trying to be clear that I want teams to collaboratively plan together. That's why that language is in there.
But we wanna be clear that we need to know when we're gonna write MEPs and when systems are gonna work that don't work, so I
Yeah.
can't necessarily be there with the team, but I call team every night, like, we're planning via text, via email, and via phone call. So it is getting done, but if that has to be written, but we can't get clarified when we're gonna get to other time, it must be done a month.
The way this is written now, it is not saying what you're saying. What you're saying is they can do Tuesday.
Yeah, I think
Tuesday,
that's,
Thursday and.
I think that
Wednesday.
language stayed because I wanted to I wanted to say 2 planning periods. And we crossed off the 1 and then we didn't change the other language.
We have some departments at my high school that don't all have the same
Sure.
period.
Sure. Yeah, or if I'm a singleton, I understand that, right?
The other question is, what about like MTSS data and stuff like that? Is that, you're thinking that's gonna happen during this collaborative planning?
And then grading and
No, I don't.
No.
Okay, so then when are they supposed to be doing that too? When they have to do, when they go over MT, this is the.
Right.
When I say lots of
Right.
meetings, I'm saying we
Sure.
had an administrator who wanted the 2 days a week and the Wednesday, and they still were having a hard time getting everything in.
Right.
And
I think also, again, I'm going back to sort of the practicality level, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, right? But when you're trying to shape people's behaviors, it doesn't always go the way that you want it to, by that policy making. A little bit how this, I think the feeling that teachers get from this kind of sorta is that it's sort of like the beatings will continue until morale improves type of thing, or like this is, we demand that you come to fun time, you know what I mean? Like those classic, if you work in a corporation, we are going to this restaurant and you will be there and we are going to have fun, that type. I think that's sometimes how this is, coming across both just,
Right.
upon reading it or upon being told it and upon actually, implementing it. I mean, like, for instance, I wouldn't be surprised, frankly, I haven't seen this, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some of these collaborative plans, we know that we can't have like an administrator in every one of these things, if these people what they're talking about, they have many things to do, and so the, enforced collaborative planning ends up being, we're all doing what we would be doing anyway in the same room,
Sure.
That's it, and again, I agree with the intent 100%, I mean,
Right.
1,000%, just the
Listen,
practicality of it.
Yeah, I don't want to be part of a bad team either, right? I mean, I hear you, and I think that is the piece of the work would be to have, I want to be on a high functioning, right? Said I'm a high functioning teacher of Lake County. I think that's the same thing. If I'm on a poor team, I don't want to be part of that team. I'm not in every room and every possibility. I know what I would like it to look like, and we're working toward what it should, so that it doesn't feel like it's a meeting. When I meet, that should not be a meeting time. It's where I'm either strict in my practice, I'm strict in the practice for my kids, I'm working for that end goal. And I know we're not there yet. And I think I've spoken.
Stuff that we're, Mr. Butler, there's not enough time today. I teach elementary
Mhm.
and I am departmentalized, but there are other teachers on our campus that are teaching all subject areas. So when you take another planning, that time has to come from somewhere for these teachers to do their work.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, I don't know how to, as a Lake County leader, I don't know how to explain this to my colleagues in a way that sounds bright and
How are
shiny at
we
this point.
taking away another meeting? Right now in contract, you meet twice a week. Either it's Wednesday or one day of the week, or it's 2 days of the week and not Wednesday. I'm not trying to change any of the language. That's the language. The language is you will meet collaboratively, just so that we're building that. I hear this forced meeting language, and that really just hurts my heart of knowing where we're trying to go.
I don't feel like
You
my
should be
meetings
able
are
to-
forced, but I don't know, other people might feel differently. Like I said, this is gonna be a really hard sell because there are schools
It's
where
not,
they only
it's
have
not
one.
different. The language, we didn't change the language. I don't know why there's a,
Reason it'll be different is because some only, they only do for one right now, and some administrators don't.
well, they're
have
not
me-
following the contract right now then.
But, well, let me finish. Yeah, that's right, I know, but some don't have meetings on Wednesday, so they get a free Wednesday also.
Sure.
So if by doing the two, they are, for some schools, they're losing extra planning because of that.
Yeah.
Is what part of the concern is. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, if it's already in contract language and people aren't doing it, then they're in violation of the contract. I mean, if we're talking the contract language, I'm not trying to change that language. That's,
I don't know if I'm arguing parallel points that are connected or not, but it is like I think, but the sort of scuttlebutt that I hear is that, well, during that collaborative planning, either instead of, say, grading papers, I'm doing whatever it is, putting the data in there and the itinerary and stuff, instead of grading papers, or I'm just gonna try to squeeze in grading papers concurrently so I don't have to do it at home.
sure.
That's sort of what I'm getting out of it, you know what I mean?
Am I wrong? It's already.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. Huh? It's already. Do you wanna make it?
Take back the money. Still language. I'm not asking for anything. We're not asking for anything.
Don't you take two anyway? Yeah, so it's. Jessica, in an effort to we can continue on the next time.
You were
Yeah.
geared up for that one. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's not gonna be popular.
It's not, it's already in
It's not.
language, so I don't understand why we're even debating it.
Because it's if versus will. So if you look at B, it says if the second planning period is required in a week. If you're saying it will, that's the difference. Okay.
Correct. I know, but it can happen.
Very quickly, this is going.
I got you. Okay.
We want. Fundamentally, that makes sense.
Yeah. I hear
Okay. So then, next page, page 7. There was discussion on section 4 regarding the part that was already in language. So yes, I agree to strike out, which is not considered an additional instructional period because it's already in another part of the contract. And we also agreed to the other, no additional lesson planning will be required for this period of time because it's also part of the contract. The part that we kept was the middle because originally that was language added by LCEA in reference to non-core curriculum courses or non-load bearing being incorporated into whatever plan of intervention or acceleration. They had the equal that was language brought by LCEA, not us. So there was a lot of complaints. According to what I found out, it was regarding non-core not having the same responsibilities as the regular classroom teachers with intervention. So that's why that language was there. That's all I was saying. I mean, I do agree with the other two pieces. And the other portion that I had a note was the next paragraph, the sentence in the middle, instructional employees with more than 3 preps will be given justification for the assignment. And I don't have an issue providing that, but I would change the word justification to rationale. And because sometimes it has to happen. It's just the way the schedule is. I mean, we don't have enough budget to provide just a minimum of 3 preps. And in some high schools, I think we discussed, it could potentially be an AP teacher having more than 3 in the same class. So that's just what I had on my notes regarding that. And that was my question. I wouldn't mind keeping the sentence, instructional employees with more than 3 preps will be giving a rationale for the assignment, period. There. The must agree, I don't agree to that because it's just something that we have to build the schedules. We can, typically, principals meet with their teachers or let them know, hey, I'm gonna assign you this course. Some of that conversations are already happening, so I understand. But I will add instructional employees with more than 3 preps will be given rationale for the assignments. We would agree to that if that's okay with you. Yes, make a note of that, please. And I will change it in the. You and I had discussed something.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, that's the last notes that I have on that particular article. You ready for the next one? Article 4.
I went back to it. But that also includes.
Okay. Article 4, there was only one thing that you requested in this article, but as previously discussed, we don't want any changes in that part. So we're not accepting the changes of crossing out such now will be non-grievable for section 4 and section 5. Everything else we already discussed and agreed on. So, oh, fine. And pass Article 17 so that we can. I think this is our first counter proposal on this article since the last time we met on 10-8 for this one. For Article 17. Okay, so for Article 17. We had agreed everything on page 1, which is section 1 and 2. Page 2, at the top, you had added, right in the middle, impacted, I put it in red. And we do not accept the language, it just presents several operational issues per se. Granting a 2-year exception from involuntary transfers to employees who voluntary transfer may significantly restricts the district's ability to respond to evolving enrollment patterns or changes that we have. So that portion is not, it may have also an unintended consequence. Basically, you may have a teacher that may strategically voluntarily transfer, not based on genuine interest or alignment with the school's needs, but rather as a means to avoid future reassignments. So it's just that whole language, the way it was, we don't feel comfortable accepting. The second part of it, if vacancies exist for which the educator is certified and or qualified, the instructional employee should be offered a position prior to that assignment of other voluntary transfers. Typically, we have conversations with the employees for voluntary transfers already, but I don't recall an issue that it has been that we force somebody unless it was just an allocation reduction. Typically, we try to find the placement for the teacher. So I didn't see an issue to add that because typically a teacher has an option. We try to provide them an opportunity for them to volunteer. And if I have more than one, we provide them an opportunity to transfer. So that happened this year with the other MOU, with the MOU that we had for the 2000, we talked to all those teachers. So they not understand that portion of the language. Then section 6, which is section 5, page second to last. You had provided if the redistribution occurs within 20 days of the transfer period, all affected employees should receive a written notice of reappointment status to prior distribution. We don't accept that language. And Florida law does not require for the school district to issue that reappointment status prior to redistribution. And all it says, the school board must act on the reappointment nomination by no later than June 30th. Or 3. Correct. Correct. And that's what we currently do.
Oh, like, for instance, when those schools opened down at the south end, and they were gonna be if they didn't know, some did not know that they were not gonna be reappointed. They could have had the option to go to that new school, but because they wanted to stay where they were, they didn't know if they were gonna be reappointed or not. If they would have known that, they would have been able to have that option to go to that other school beforehand. So I don't understand what the issue is, but if you know 20 days, if this happens 20 days before the transfer period, why you can't let those teachers know that they're not gonna be reappointed, so they have that option? But I don't understand what the issue with that is.
Clarification also, I think pretty much the exact reason that we have it in here is because it doesn't say it in Florida statute. Like that's what we keep talking about is that, well, it already says it's in Florida statute, so we don't need it in here. But if we don't need it in here, if it does say it in Florida
Correct,
statute,
I'm not-
and if it does not say it in Florida statute, then I think clearly there's a ton of conflict there.
And I understand, also adding that language, it takes away some of the flexibility, and I get it. Mandating the written notice for reappointment with that 20-day window, basically, you're limiting the district's ability to be able to respond to enrollment shifts. So you're telling me that I have to hire from within those people, correct? We're moving them.
Neola Horizon opened. They were taking teachers from 2 other schools.
Windy Hill and Grassy.
They were taking them, they had the option to apply to those positions before the transfer period. But because they didn't know that they were not gonna be reappointed, they didn't apply. So then they would end up not being reappointed. If they knew that they weren't gonna be reappointed at their school, they could have opened up and applied at that new school. We're not saying you have to hire them. We're saying that it gives them the opportunity to be able to apply for that position at that time, if they know that they're not being rehired where they are.
So my question is, how come they didn't apply?
Because they wanted to stay where they were.
They don't want to move.
And if they would have known they weren't gonna be rehired,
A week later.
a week later, yeah, they would have applied.
See, I was part of that, all that conversation with those teachers, and we were very clear with them. There were gonna be less instructional positions in that school, and we told them to apply. They chose not to apply.
Because they thought they would still have a position at that school. But some of them just, and it wasn't because there wasn't a position necessarily at that, they weren't reappointed. For whatever reason, it could have been that they didn't have a position there, but it could have been that the principal, for whatever reason, didn't want to reappoint them.
I got a question. Did any of them lose their job?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to do a little research.
What's the negative of applying? If because you apply for a job, doesn't mean you have to take that.
Well, what's the negative of letting them know that they're not going to be reappointed so they can apply? It's not like it's that much, I mean, we're only asking 20 days before the transfer period. You have to let them know before the transfer period that they're rehired anyway.
Correct.
Appointed anyway.
Correct, but
So if you're doing this before the transfer period, within 20 days of the transfer period, what is the big deal for 20 days to let those employees know that they're not going to be rehired? So that they can apply at that other school. I don't understand what the issue is.
there were only, because I'm going back to that school. There was a couple of teachers that were moved after the fact, and they got a job at that school. So I'm not finding why would this be an issue, because it was not an issue with that school. Even the one teacher I remember the one teacher that we approved to move to that school. So it just takes the flexibility of your appointment.
Grassy Lake and Windy Hill were reappointed.
No, some were not. No, some were not, but the principals have that discretion.
We're asking for that employee to be notified so they know that they will not have a job at that school, so that they know that they need to apply at this school. Well, the
Okay,
openings
hold
are
on.
available.
So if before transfer period, I'm doing all reappointments, correct?
Within 20 days of the transfer.
No, before transfer, so you want reappointment to happen before,
If the redistribution occurs within 20 days of the transfer period.
correct, but without this language.
Okay.
When do teachers get reappointed? After transfer period or before transfer? So they all got notified that they were gonna be reappointed, correct?
Like the day before. transfer.
That's fine, but they got reappointed. They already got the letter that they're reappointed,
Or not.
or not. So what you're hearing is 20 days. If the distribution occurs within 20 days of the transfer, so then they're already notified before transfer period. They don't apply during transfer period.
No, no, this was applied, these were not in as, for transfer period. These were that they had the chance to, they were asked to apply before transfer.
Oh, the
period.
special posting.
Yes, and so we're asking if that happens 20 days before transfer period, that those schools are notified if they're not gonna be rehired, so that they know that they should apply for that job, that they're not gonna be, that there's no way they're gonna be working where they are now.
All
We're
right,
not asking the whole school, the whole district, we're just asking for the 2 school or whatever schools that are affected for that redistribution. Does that make sense now?
now it makes sense. I just gotta look at the data to see what happened with those teachers at that school on the redistribution on the special posting. So I'm making note of that. I'm gonna have to review that data just to see. Section 6, we do not accept recall of reduction in force. And that honestly puts an outside priority to outside applicants rather than current employees. And we're not at the position that we can do that. Even on placements, when we do placements, I believe I said this last time, I'll say it again, only 50% of placements stay where they're placed. So even if I were to have a recall and I place people back, they don't stay where we place them. So, and I'm not gonna put district priority on non-employees to recall back. The school relocation,
Saying that if you have to recall ones before you hire new employees, like brand new employees that never worked. And this is only for a short time after the reduction in force. So if you let them go, lay them off because we had to reduce our force.
Correct.
We're saying that they have priority before you go to brand new.
correct, they're no longer employees of ours. I'm not gonna put priority on somebody that was already out of the system. That principal should have the right to be able to hire the best teacher for their site, not a placement.
Okay, but we're in a time of financial crisis is what we keep being told. So that when you hire new employees, the onboarding of new employees costs the district and taxpayers thousands of dollars per employee every time you hire a brand new employee. If they are already familiar with our county and been in our county, the onboarding price would be a lot less. And they still have to apply. If the principal doesn't think that they are a good fit, they can still say no. We're just asking for them to have the option to apply first.
They can apply. I'm not holding them from applying. Here it says recall must be offered in inverse order of reduction in force. So I have to recall the no new instructional employee. That means that I'm calling back somebody that was already working with us. No,
Not because they were.
but they can apply. They can apply for the, correct, they can apply for the job. They can apply for the job.
Do we have any sort of concept of what, like, onboarding costs money, the interviewing process is part of that, but how much that accounts for?
And our district our size, if I remember correctly, it's like, I wanna say $20,000 is what it's estimated at. Something like that per employee.
So for each new acquired, to get them up to speed where you would expect a present or a former.
I'm not confirming that, so.
So keep it that, I will check and find out in my.
And then for school relocation, you have put when employees are required to relocate to another school site or work site for longer than 30 calendar days. The instructional employee will be covered under workman's compensation while working outside the contract hours. Okay, under the statute, this is part of what I was gonna explain. If somebody's working outside their contract hours, as long as they have approval from the administrator, they're covered under workman's comp. It doesn't need to be stated here. The statute says that. So they are covered as long as they have approval from the administrator to be at the site, they are covered.
And
Preferably, I would suggest you should have it written approval, an email. So, but we've had cases that, as long as the teacher has been hurt, an employee, actually, it's not a teacher, it wasn't another employee, got hurt, and they had a permission from the administrator, so it was covered. So as long as the employee has approval from the administrator, it's covered under workman's comp. So that, and that's part of the statute, chapter 440. And that is it. That's all that I have on Article 17, and I will check on that redistribution. Can you pass Article 18?
We're not going in on that.
Okay. Article 18. We agree with everything on page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There was a question on 8. And I'm gonna go back because I discussed that with Mr. Myers from Leaves. Page 8 had there was the question about if such position is available, correct? So the way that it was example, teacher, that explanation that he gave me, I wrote it so that way I'll make sure that I say it correctly. If a teacher has a 5th grade position but returns the same position, it's 5th grade at their present site, if available. What may happen is the teacher returns and is assigned to a 3rd grade position, possibly at another site, if no allocation is open at previous site. Both positions are instructional, therefore they're equivalent. So when we put if such position is available, we always try to give them the same position they have at their current site. But if they don't have it, we find another one that's suitable. That's what it's meant with that language. Okay. Then the rest of the contract is, we had a language on bereavement. I'm adding some language on bereavement and declining some. So if you go to the last page, I accept the language, I believe it was in green on section 16. The district will provide information and guidance on FMLA. We accepted that language. We do not accept other close relative. In discussion, bereavement was added for immediate family only, and it's funded by the district to control costs. It was only for immediate family and does not follow the sick leave definition. So that's why we don't accept that. You have added for each occurrence of a qualified death. We do not accept the language, but we put language in the event of a second occurrence of a qualified death within the same fiscal year, the instructional employee may apply for an additional bereavement leave to the superintendent or designee for consideration. That would cover for anybody that has an emergency situation, like the one example, to make sure that we can make that decision to cover them.
You say that if a stepmother or a stepfather or step child dies, that's not included?
Brother, sister, husband, wife, child. If that child is an adopted child, we will cover it.
That's stepchild.
Is this part of the immediate? So if you're talking about if an employee, their step daughter or son It's covered as long as they're a child, they're a guardian of, yes, it would be covered.
What if it's a grown stepchild or a stepmother? I mean, there's a lot of people here who was raised, like for instance, my daughter. My wife is her stepmother and my daughter, she's being raised by my wife. If something happens to, if my daughter was an employee, you're telling me if my wife died, she wouldn't get bereavement because she's not legally her mother? But if you go by, if you do the parents and child like they do at MLA, it includes step.
So that's what I'm saying. We're not following that same guideline. It was only following for immediate family.
So you're not doing it, that is an immediate family though. How is that, that's what I'm trying,
Okay.
that's what I'm asking, because it is immediate family.
So
Like
then,
if I was, if I was raised by my mom and my stepdad, and my stepdad died, you're telling me I wouldn't get it because he's not legally my dad?
well, legally, if he was your dad, did he raise you?
But that's not legal. If my parents might be married, but on my birth certificate, it does not say my stepdad's name, it says my father's name. But he's still my stepdad and I still lived with him. He still raised me.
Okay, did we have any that we denied based on that? I'm asking because I want,
There was one case, but I don't know who it was, but that's why,
That's-
but that's why I need it on record that yes, that is the part of it, or no, it is not.
okay, so we're meeting next week. I'll go ahead and get you that answer clarity.
Thank you.
And you want to know exactly stepfather,
Stepmother, stepfather, stepchild. Regardless of adoption. Or age.
regardless of age.
Or adoption.
Stepfather, stepmother, stepchild, regardless of age, or legal guardian status, right? So what I'm writing, stepfather, stepmother, and stepchild, regardless of age or legal guardian status. Okay,
Adoption, they're automatically, their legal guardians would be covered.
okay, so then I wrote the
Yes.
I'm,
Adoption would automatically be covered because.
this is illegal, yeah, that's a legal guardian, yes, correct. I made a note and I'll answer that immediately on the next meeting. Wednesday, unless I can answer to you by email before then, okay? And we can talk about it again on the 12th. Okay, and then, but that's the language I added instead of for each occurrence of qualified death. We still leave it 2 days per fiscal year. The last thing I have is the appendix C and D. So pass both of them, so that way I can go through both of them. You stay with me for a little longer. Talk about the movie. Hmm?
Yeah.
Are we doing that about you after the end?
I'm sorry?
On your agenda. I check now,
Well-
we go.
I need to know part of, depending on how this goes, I'm gonna discuss MOU. Okay, I'm gonna start with appendix C. I'm gonna start with C. C at the top, I changed the year to 25-26. You had a question about pilot for water polo. I did find out some information. And water polo is still under pilot and their FHSA has still set water polo in sunset. And what does that mean? That means that when somebody's planning to discontinue for expiration of a program, rule, or spot under that FHSA Athletic Association. When something is sunset, it means it's scheduled to end unless renewed or extended. We currently have knowledge that there's larger counties still appealing it. So right now we're leaving it as a pilot. Okay, so. And the next page. I went through this appendix and I changed everything as a teacher to instructional employee. At the bottom of the second page, you see the red and the blue. Then on page 3, there is a new statute, House Bill 865. Coaches must hold and maintain effective July 1st, 2024. They must also have AED. So I went through the whole language regarding coaching and I added, they must have CPR, AED, or first aid. I remove where the pronouns are. So if I go by the top, I remove his or her at the top on athletic director, then I added high school athletic directors required to have all 3, because we do have some athletic directors that are coaches. Then I moved to a head athletic director, remove the pronoun, put the head athletic director, again added the CPR, AED, and first aid, removed from the assistant athletic director the pronouns teacher, instruction, employee, added required to have current CPR, AED, or first aid. Athletic trainers are also required according to the House bill. So I added AED with a comma. We accept director or athletic assistant director, we would qualify them for that.
Did we offer the, I know we just are the first aid, we also offer the AED training.
That I do not know it.
It is.
It is now, okay, so good to know. So now we changed to green the bottom because you wanted athletic trainers to qualify for that supplement, so we accept that. Next page, same thing. If you notice what I did with all the coaches, I added the AED, changed the pronouns where it needed to be changed, and those are the changes there. Middle school, the same thing. Instead of under his or her charge, I put assigned students, the word assigned. Other than that, it was the same thing, AED.
And, about the middle school, committee for the middle school, are you good with us doing that? Can we
Yeah.
together? Okay.
That's something that I discussed with Chad. He wanted more information because I don't oversee sports. That is something that we can discuss. We may need to have a conversation outside regarding that, okay? But yes, we would like to have conversations to see if any other changes you want to propose for that part. Appendix D. Appendix D is a little bit more complicated. We accept the top, the year, and the all stipends and supplement positions will only be split with agreement by all parties involved in writing. We accept that. And I only had one question regarding that. Do you require a form or can we do that by email? On the top sentence, or are you gonna be requiring a form for them to sign then? Just a question because we have supplement forms that get filled out. Or would an email accepting suffice? Okay. So before I start with the top and then the dance, we do not accept adding dance as one of we do accept the word activities, but we do not accept adding dance. And and I was gonna discuss that because I wrote it down. Okay. Last school year, when they have funding through CAPE for CTSO supplements, some schools were using other approved clubs for CTSO. So we don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with, not me, like the district doesn't seem to have an issue with dance. If the school chooses to, they can choose it as one of the other approved curricular clubs. If they want to choose dance as one of them, but we're not adding another activity or adding expense in activities to the appendix. So that's the main reason. If a school chooses to have that one as one of the other approved curricular clubs, they can do that. Yes.
Both dance team and cheer team, does the dance team count the same as the cheer team in terms of,
No.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I just, in case anyone asks, like, to know where that falls. Cause they're not the same, right, and I get that, but like, where does?
I will-
At Lake Minneola, we've got the cheer, and then we've got the Hawkins dance team.
My first answer is no, but I can further
So I'm
Further
Curious.
get clarification. That's under Mr. Farnsworth, so I have to just double check with him, okay?
Cause in that regard, it's like more or less a sport and not a club. Well, yeah.
Well,
that's
and
like-
I really didn't want to get into a debate whether it's a sport or not. It's just we were trying not to get into adding more expense to the
Yeah.
district. So that's one of the primary reasons. We're not saying that you cannot do dance, but we're not adding it as one of the main activities. So if you want to add it, if the school chooses to add it as one of the 4 other approved curricular clubs, they can. So this, obviously, the supplement will be different, but it's not that we're saying no to dance. We're saying no to dance as an independent activity. Okay, now. All right, so Jessica, in order for me to go through this, the reason that part of the reason that we're not accepting the top part is because we're not accepting the site-based mentor piece. So that's why part is coming back to where it is on the application. I don't mind moving it in the section, but I needed to have that conversation first. And I'm gonna go through the appendix now for it. So if you go to the second page, obviously, we kept that where it was. We crossed it out here, but we kept it where it was on the other side because it still included the team expert and the site-based mentor in it. Now we can change the location. Now, as for reading the grade club sponsors, each school will have the ability to have paid activities clubs listed in the table above. I had a question on that. I thought that was meant to go with the table that I left in front on the first page. Is that your intent? Okay, so that language I may accept that. I just need to redo the table where depending what. Correct, so it might be like, that's why that.
Put it in front of the- As listed below.
As listed below, and that's something that I wanted to note, so on it. Grade department chair. Each worksite will have a department or grade level chair for every department Stipends will be paid out to the chair based on the above amounts per the number of instructional employees in each department. How are department chairs made right now? How do you guys have them? Science.
Same thing. And elected.
So that second part is just basically describing the top piece, correct? The table, correct, Jessica? That middle section, when the grade department chair, each worksite will have a department or grade chair for every department. That was just a description of that table. Okay. Also, I will be rearranging that, so that's not really red. I just had it red because I had questions. What's new is the professional learning team leader, professional learning team leader. Each worksite will have a team leader or PLT leader for every team or PLT. Stipends will be paid out to the leader based on the above amounts per the number of instructional employees on each site. So that's a new position. Is that what you're is that what your intent was with that sentence?
Well, because have to be great. People are having to do, they're getting ready for their PLCs, they're doing all the plannings for that, they're in charge of theirs. And, so they're doing everything like that for their specific, most of it is happening in middle school. is what we're hearing it from in high school. So for instance, I understand you have a science chair, but then you have biology, and you have someone who's doing everything for the 3 or 4 biology for their PLTs, and then you have some of the others that are doing it for theirs, like you have the math, you might have geometry and algebra, and then, and they have several teachers that they're doing their planning, their PLTs for.
So,
Split reading, because 11-12 does as completely different reading, than 9 and 10.
so we're adding a position, basically.
Well, they're getting that, they already have that position, is the problem.
No, they have the team leader position. Some schools, what they're doing, they're splitting the team leader. So they're agreeing to split the team leader. So you're saying is to split it and give it a new position. You're saying for me to have a team leader and also have a PLT leader. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, and that will be an extra added cost to the district for that, for me to do that. So
Yeah.
if that is the case, we don't accept that language. Okay, the team expert. Some schools, what they're doing, they're splitting the supplement, and one does the team leader and the other one does the team leader portion of it. The other one does the PLT. Okay, team expert, we don't accept that, and the district departs more than 20 instructional employments. If there is I typically, we do not approve a team expert for a smaller site. So typically those, if they have a question, typically Ms. Howard provides the support for that. If it's a department of small employees that have very little instructional employees. So, we didn't accept that in that language. For the team expert, the 460, the only reason I took it out of there is because it's already listed on the table above at the beginning of the,
Right.
and it might be that I'll be moving it. That's why I had questions. I'll be moving that down. Now, the team expert, I accept all the language changes that you put there. The team expert, crossing, then manage the team plan in True North Logic. I accept that language. First bullet and the second bullet too. Yes.
Our chair is doing something, you're gonna put what a PLC does. Moving that up somehow. So I don't know at our school that, anybody's getting paid to be a PLC leader, I mean, I've been one and you just do what you do. But if this is getting to be a bigger thing, that's, I think, why it was brought up, because it's some, as you just said, at some schools they're splitting and some they're not. You agreed to be the department chair and you saw in here what it pays, that might be part of the reason. I think for most of us, probably not, we either agree to do it or not. But if it says here, the department chair gets that, then who is deciding that a PLC leader, and maybe I'm not understanding because I'm high school, but like, that we have many, many, many different. So how would you be chipping off at that piece? So if you agreed to be the science department chair, and then you come to find out that now you're splitting your stipend without knowing, with the biology, the environmental science, the physical science, and the chemistry, PLT leads, and all of those leads are doing that. That's where you need to know, is the department chair in charge, because that is a heavy duty job for each and every department chair. And then the PLT leaders, are they doing something different, and what benefit is there to be a PLT leader or not, depending on different levels. I'm sure elementary might have more, maybe middle has more involved, but my personal PLT, is something that I do with my small group. If I had a much larger group, that would be a lot more, that would be a lot more intensive, but I feel like, the EAC department chair is involved with a lot more work. So that person, I wouldn't want to take any of their stipend from them. So that's the reason why we like these things, written here in the contract, so that can somebody come along and then split my stipend or put it in a third, or, And that's why I'm asking you clarify that this is not for PLT leaders, or that it is, and how much. So is there another pot? Because we are a PLT school, county, and it is extremely important that we are. Is there some level for that, and how many per school? So that those people
Okay.
who do that work, have.
So let me first start. As far as the employee not knowing if it's been split, we're agreeing with the language in writing for them to know whether it's going to be split. As far as having a PLT team leader, we're not accepting adding that.
As a person who gets a stipend.
Correct, as a person, because I cannot get a base amount of how much would it cost for the whole district to add that, because if I add a PLT leader for science, for every subject area, it can become a huge cost. We put all compensation on the compensation proposal that we put with performance pay and bonus and advanced degree. This will add a higher cost in compensation.
I mean, and everything does it to higher cost to me, the employee, if I choose field.
Correct.
Side on that, but that's why we're asking, you know, should people be splitting things, because I haven't heard of that, and then somebody tells you they split that with that, you know.
Some team leaders would choose to split it because some will tackle the team leader portion of it and others will tackle the PLT portion of it. It's part of the team leader duties. So,
So you're saying that team leader is supposed to be running the PLC?
no, I'm not saying that. It could be an added activity that they do at that school. The team leader, as the team leader, can provide some PLT. And that's why sometimes it gets divided at schools. At this time, I don't have a way of me finding out how much would that cost to add a PLT. I don't. And if I were to do it per school, it would probably be adding per site. A high school could have 8 or more. So you can see how the cost could exponentially grow. Correct, and that's. Yeah, so the focus of the compensation was to keep it on compensation and advancing, like we've put all the money there. This adds compensation. So that's the reason I wasn't trying to like say, it's just, we're trying to limit adding any more in lieu of what the budget.
So just to clarify, whose responsibility is that? If you have a team of 4 or 5 people prepared for this time, who is in charge of doing that prep work?
I will have to ask different.
You know. A lot of the editing people.
So.
Like I
uh,
can only
minutes,
speak for.
copies,
I can only speak-
Yeah.
research. You know, there's a lot that goes into what we do in PLT.
It varies by site. I mean, she has her own site.
My PLT leaders are my team leaders. And they're separate from the guiding coalition, which is my department chair, so. They are getting a little bit. I mean, they're not going out and buy a Maserati, but. I mean, you know, try to help as much as we can, but I have 12. On our campus.
So. Do you pay your department chairs and your team leaders full stipends?
Correct.
So. So then how come some schools are doing their team leaders and only their department chairs only? Because that's where we're trying, that's where the inconsistency is across the board, is some are paying them both, some are splitting the one, some are getting separate.
Okay. So then I will need to go back and look at every school that has submitted a stipend and see how they're doing, they're splitting their PLT. But, and it's not something that we're ready to add anyway because of the cost, what it would be, so.
Well, the team leader could be in here.
Correct, the team leader is, but I'm not, the part that I'm not adding is we're not adding a PLT. We're not splitting both for them to get the full amount. Because if I can potentially have multiple PLT leaders at a school site. More than team leaders.
What's the difference? I would just talk about that. Department chairs are over the departments and my PLT leaders lead the PLT teams within the department grade level wise. So I have one PLT leader that leads 6th grade math, one PLT in social studies, one in ELA and one in science. And I do the same in 7th and 8th. They're the leaders of that team. They take
It's
care
the
of the
team leader.
agenda. They make sure that they're looking at the paperwork that we submit for it. And then our department chairs are our guiding coalition team. That's separate. They're department chairs. They help with PD when we call for it. So we help lead PD together. They do a different job description. And they really kind of help me focus and make school-wide decisions too. Like if I'm trying to make a decision school-wide, they're the first that I go to as a committee and leadership team to kind of gauge their thoughts and get their feedback. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, could you do that?
Yeah. All,
I just caught myself.
all the schools submit, but every school does their PD differently. So it will be different per site. It's just adding a PLT team leader by itself for its own stipend can potentially balloon in cost in the whole district. But I'll be more than glad to see where it's being split, but not all of them will split it the same way. So.
Will have responsibility, the other teachers on their team. They have a lot of responsibility for their group, department chairs for the context specific, and we have team leads that are absolutely.
And the team leads and the department chairs both get stipends? And they're both get full stipends?
I do have one that splits only because they're on our school team.
They're splitting
You
it.
have to split it.
They have to split it because they only get X
Depends on
amount.
what you have there. Yeah.
Well, how many stipends do they get? It doesn't specify that anywhere for this specifically. For grade chair, department chairs. Team leads.
It's on the, I have,
Formula for people, right?
yeah, we have forms that they submit for pay that there's a form that they fill out and they put and it has all those specifics. So, yes, I can, yes, go ahead and put that note on that. So, because that's the form that we process. That's the only data that I have to be able to see cost. And
Maybe it's not a matter of adding new language, it's a matter of seeing what's happening to make sure that all the schools are following a similar.
Yeah. But it all depends, exactly, they all follow different because it all depends on their need. Some schools are,
And maybe how others are doing it, that they could do it, like he's saying, the department chairs and the team leads.
Correct.
Are both getting it, maybe some don't realize that they can both get it like that, is what I'm saying.
okay. I will look at all those forms and start getting some type of data. I'll give you the blank form, but I'll also get some data so you can see what I notice as far as middle, high schools, and then elementary separate. Okay, the benefit liaison. Okay, I discussed this with risk management and I was talking to Marisol in this case, okay, and it's not by no for, we,
Talk about at the point, in terms of committee.
yeah, you put it on a separate paper, but you left it there, so I was. Okay, she has some concerns, and it has to do with HIPAA and each benefit. I just want to show you, when we talk at joint insurance committee, we'll talk about this, but there are some concerns of having an instructional employee have access to all health related, because in order for them to provide insurance information, you gotta be able to see what the employee has. So in order to see what benefits, what they like, they're gonna get into that world of protected through HIPAA. So that I'd rather you have a conversation. Yeah, I'd rather you have a conversation with Marisol regarding that. Okay, the site-based mentor. At this time, the only reason we had put an MOU is because we had that budget, provide that amount of pot of money provided by Ed Foundation. We were trying to control the spends because you already know that we spent way over on the site-based mentor, not the district site-based mentor that we have in current contract. I'm talking about the site-based mentor that we had a MOU that we sent to you. So we rather have the MOU, the district wants to use the MOU for the site-based mentor separate from the site-based mentor that's in contract.
They get both.
Yeah, they can qualify for both. There were some that they were doing both. Because some were on their hourly on the old MOU, and they were also getting this one.
So what my understanding with my meeting with Dr. Scott today, that all the ones with her would also get this. So
If that's who the principal, yeah, if that's the person they choose, because the other part of money is to provide support for that first year teacher.
Right, and this would be the first, they would be getting it for this too, the first year teacher.
They could, yeah, they could. I'm not saying no, that they can, but you can have a school that may have one site-based mentor working with all the experienced teachers and one site-based mentor that works only with the first-year teachers.
Okay.
So you can potentially have two different people, you can have one person doing both.
So you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is there is only one site-based mentor per school? Under this?
No. If you look at the category, if a person has a category 1A teachers, if they have, let's say, if they have 7 to 10 new teachers, they get 3 site-based mentors, okay? Now, the MOU allows for somebody else or one of the 3 to also do that for the ones that are in their first year. It's separate. We want to do an MOU separate for the teachers that have no teaching experience whatsoever. So you can you have more, it all depends. There's a school that may have, last year, I know there was a school that had like 16 new teachers and they had like they had 6 site-based mentors. There's some that have more. So yes, to answer your question, yeah, you can have a potentially one that gets the $460 and get the MOU that we sent to you guys for review, which it was set at, what's the MOU? Can you give me the copy of the MOU? 500 for that other one, correct.
But, so, and these are all first-year teachers, even in here.
These are all for category 1A teachers. So let me redefine what category 1A. You can have a teacher that moves from Orange County, they buy a house here in Lake County. Their first year, they're probationary for the whole entire first year. They're category 1A because by default in our contract, they're probationary, they're category 1A. But that teacher may have 15 years of experience. They might not need a mentor. They qualify to be mentor, but they might not need it. But that school gets whatever amount of mentors based on number of category 1A teachers, okay? The other MOU is for teachers that have no experience. If a school identifies 1, 2, 3, 4 teachers that are no teaching experience whatsoever, they're brand new into the field. They can see one mentor from this one. They can also see another mentor or the same person and still receive this. Hopefully I'm explaining myself correctly. The only difference is we cannot add it to the contract because we don't know if we get these funds all the time.
To do the mentoring that's being asked to do, specifically with on here in the MOU, for them to meet weekly and do everything you're looking at, what was the amount? It was like
less than minimum
$8,
wage.
it was like $8 an hour.
So is that something that we can review?
That's,
And
that's
and
an
that's
hour.
why-
She's more concerned, you're concerned about the MOU?
Well, no.
Either one.
Well, we thought,
Oh,
we were under the impression that if you were on that MOU, you were getting this $460 also.
If that's what the school decides to do, not necessarily.
500, and for a brand new teacher, and you're asking all that extra work to do, that's only $8 a week.
So for instance, if you have a school that has only 3 new teachers in that site, yeah, but that there's only one, that's only one site-based mentor, they get both because they only have one site-based mentor, plus they also have access to this. If their teacher has no experience, so, but they officially get what's in contract. So we can talk about this MOU if we need to make some change. Okay, so then if we need to have a discussion on this, then that's what we need to know. What else can we do on the MOU? Because we can accept the language for the site-based mentor in the appendix as is.
Being way too much.
No, the MOU is based on a pot of money funded, that's,
That each site gets, and I'm aware of that.
no, the funding for the MOU comes from Ed Foundation, not district funds. That's why.
Based on the same, agreement
No,
for this
no.
site base as they do for that one?
No, this site-based mentor in the contract is they only have to fill out that form that we have for,
The law.
the log, basically, the site-based mentor log. Just like the team expert. These 2 positions were added to the contract because I don't know if you remember this, they used to be in the lift portion of the contract back years ago. So that's why. So we didn't add any other requirements other than what's there. as you can see, I kept the original language. I added the instructional employee. I believe I accepted the language of meetings will occur on it. I believe that's correct. It shouldn't be forced. It should be when they both agreed on. But I do not accept the other portion of the combining both site-based mentors, category 1A and the table and all that language. The whole intent is to have a separate MOU because this MOU will be driven by the funds we receive from the Ed Foundation. So regarding so just to finish, regarding PIST, the Wednesday early release, and before I go into AP, the ESC school specialist or the high school testing coordinator, we do not accept that language because again, it's adding cost to the contract. So regarding AP, the only reason we do not accept the AP is because that's revenue that is not district funded, that is subject to change every year. So we cannot put that they're gonna earn the $50 and it might change to more or less based on AP providing that funding. So we cannot put something in contract that we don't know how the funding might change. So teachers do get that, like you said, it's just not provided by us. And then the other ones is just an added cost. We just don't, we at this time cannot accept any more costs. That is Appendix D. Now, you have the MOU. Do you want a copy or do you have it? So you have it. So I'm not sure if it's changes that you want to discuss now or something that you want to meet with us later.
Later, because I want to confirm things with my team.
Okay, and
Yeah, but
that's what I figured, and that's fine. Just please let us know what you recommend, and we can work on this on the side to make sure that it gets.
I'll get with you Monday.
That's fine. That's fine. I know it's a lot. There's some language that I'm gonna get back to you, but our whole intent is to hopefully get this closed, and I can work with HR and payroll if we get to an agreement, but if not, then I just wanted to let you know that it's challenging. Is there anything you want to add for us?
Did you want to caucus about that one part before and then we can caucus?
No, I'll have a conversation with, I have to meet with you next week so we can come back, and if we come to some resolution, maybe if we talk Monday, I can talk to you then. Okay?
So next week, it'll be at Lake Minnehaha High Media Center.
Correct. That's what you communicated to us. That's
We got, yeah.
good, that's fine. And it will be in the media center. Okay, based on the timing, it's the same timing for. I will ask, I asked today, I had a guardian here to let people in and out. I know it gets dark sooner, so I will do the same so that we can have somebody over there, security purposes. Anything else?
Can we, have a few minutes in here before we leave?
Okay, do you want to caucus or do you want me to end and then you're gonna have, okay, so then it is 6:54 PM and we are ending bargaining today with LCEA and LCS. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I'll